TV, movies, music, podcasts, and on top of all that, constant notifications. It's all coming at us non-stop. We're in a state of constant stimulation, and it's wrecking our ability to concentrate. And this isn't just something we've casually noticed about ourselves. Research backs it up. Our attention spans are getting shorter. It's tempting to point fingers at the internet as the main cause, but the truth is, this problem started before the internet. The internet just made it worse. If we really want to tackle this issue, we need to understand where it came from and break it down. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to break this down into 3 parts, and it all starts with a shift from reading books to watching television. Back in the 1980s, Neil Postman wrote a book called Amusing Ourselves to Death. He was mainly interested in how shifting from written language to mass media, especially television, was shaping our culture. The invention of the printing press was revolutionary. It allowed ideas to spread at a scale that was previously unimaginable. Major historical events like the Protestant Reformation, the Enlightenment, and even the American Revolution were fueled by the ability to widely share new ideas in print. But media theorists like Postman, and we should also mention Marshall McLuhan here, argue that the way we communicate actually influences how we think. McLuhan had a famous phrase, "The medium is the message." Postman looked at early American culture as an example of what he called the typographic mind. This was a mind shaped by regular book reading, a mind used to long, serious, focused thought. In short, a mind trained to concentrate. That's our first big takeaway. Reading doesn't just give you knowledge, it builds your ability to focus. It literally reshapes how you think. But here's the thing, we stopped reading. Even back in Postman's day, television had overtaken reading as the main way people consumed information. And things have only gotten worse since then, with the rise of smartphones, the internet, and constant screen time, which we'll talk more about in a bit. 2 moments in American political history illustrate this shift perfectly. The first is the 1858 Lincoln-Douglas debates. These are legendary pieces of American political discourse, and if you're at all interested in rhetoric, they're worth reading. Some accounts say as many as 18,000 people attended these debates. They were later printed, which is how we can still read them today, and it's actually how Lincoln rose to national fame. Each debate lasted 3 hours. One candidate would open with a 60-minute speech, and then they'd follow a structured format with long, detailed responses. This meant the audience had to pay attention for hours at a time and follow a single complex idea for up to 90 minutes straight. Postman believed this was possible because people back then were trained by reading books. They were used to tracking long trains of thought, and when you read the actual debates, you can see it. Both speakers use long, intricate sentences, clearly influenced by the kind of writing people were consuming at the time. Now fast forward a century to 1960, the Kennedy-Nixon debates. These were the first presidential debates broadcast on television, and what happened there shows us just how much had changed. Instead of hours-long debates with detailed arguments, the entire debate was only an hour. Each candidate had just 8 minutes for an opening statement. The audience at home didn't have to follow a long argument. They were getting everything in small, digestible chunks. And that shift? It mirrored how people were already consuming information, quickly, passively, and mostly through screens. What really stuck in people's minds about that debate wasn't what either candidate said, it was how they looked. Kennedy came across calm, polished, and photogenic. Nixon, on the other hand, looked tired and sweaty. People who listened to the debate on the radio actually thought Nixon had done better, but TV viewers overwhelmingly thought Kennedy won. That one televised debate arguably changed the course of political history, not because of a powerful argument, but because one guy looked better on screen. And this is Postman's point. When the medium changes, our expectations change with it. A 3-hour debate in the age of TV? That wouldn't fly. People just aren't used to sitting and focusing that long anymore. Imagine someone pitching a 3-hour political debate in primetime TV today. It'd get laughed out of the room. The ratings would tank. Because television trained us to prefer bite-sized content. It shifted us away from deep thinking and into shallow engagement. And this shift didn't just affect politics. It shaped how we think, how we process ideas, and what we expect from media. Here's the thing. Focus is a skill, and like any skill, it gets better when you practice it, and worse when you don't. So if you're watching TV for hours every day, or more likely cycling between your TV, your laptop, your phone, maybe a second screen with a show running in the background, you're training your brain to not focus. You're conditioning yourself to expect constant stimulation. That makes it harder to sit down and do something that requires real attention, like reading a book, studying something deeply, or even just sitting with a thought for more than a few minutes. People tell me all the time that reading books is inefficient now, that there are faster ways to learn, like summaries or YouTube videos like this one. But let me be real with you for a second, and I know this is going to sound like internet grandpa energy, but that is pure cope. Yes, videos and summaries can help, but they're not the same. When you read a book, you're following an author's train of thought from beginning to end. You're actively thinking with them. You're flexing your mind. It's a workout, and no 10-minute video, even a good one, can give you that. Now I get it. You might be thinking, okay, but who even watches TV anymore? And you're right. Television isn't the main form of media most people consume these days. Today, the internet is where our attention goes. YouTube, TikTok, podcasts, infinite feeds. And now, the problem's gotten even worse. Just like we moved from books to TV, we've now moved from TV to the internet. And that's changed everything again. So, Neil Postman couldn't have predicted the internet. Amusing Ourselves to Death was written in the 1980s. But the problems he pointed out, they've only multiplied. A more recent thinker, Nicholas Carr, picked up where Postman left off. In his book, The Shallows, Carr asks a simple but unsettling question. What is the internet doing to our brains? If I had to sum up the internet in one word, it would be chaos. Let's take YouTube as an example. You open the app or website, and what do you see? Rows and rows of recommended videos, autoplay, notifications, a search bar daring you to look up literally anything. Click one video, and instantly there's a carousel of 12 more waiting. It's never ending. The entire platform is designed to keep you scrolling. If you feel even slightly bored, boom, there's something else to click. You don't even have to look for it. It finds you. Now, we've all just accepted this as normal, but really think about what's happening here. It's not a calm or focused environment. It's an attention obstacle course. And YouTube isn't even the worst offender. Open TikTok, and I mean just open it, and the content starts playing instantly. You don't even press play. It's just there, blasting at you. You get hit with video after video, back to back. I've opened it a couple of times and felt like I got a headache in 30 seconds. It's too much, but that's kind of the point. These platforms aren't designed to help you learn or reflect or explore ideas deeply. They're designed to keep you engaged by any means necessary, even if it means bombarding you with dopamine hits and constantly tempting you with something better just a swipe away. And this has consequences. Over time, you stop being able to stay with any idea for more than a minute or two. Even if you're watching a great 10-minute video, you've still got that little itch. Maybe there's something else, something more exciting, just a click away. This is what Nicholas Carr wants us to understand. It's not just that the internet is distracting, it's that it's rewiring us. Our brains are plastic. Not in a bad way, plastic in the sense that they're moldable. The way we think, the way our neurons connect, the patterns we form, those are shaped by what we do every day, by the tools we use, by how we spend our time. So let me ask you this. What happens when the average person is spending over 7 hours a day on screens? What do you think that's doing to our brains? Here's the bad news. It's destroying our ability to focus. Slowly, quietly, almost without us noticing. Every swipe, every ping, every endless scroll, it's like erosion for your attention span. But here's the good news. Our brains are plastic. That means we can change. We can undo some of that damage. We can retrain our minds. It just takes effort. You could start by reading more books. You could reduce screen time. You could, in a moment of righteous fury, toss your phone into a lake like it's the One Ring returning to Mount Doom. The point is, you can take back your focus, but only if you recognize there's a fight going on for it, and you're outnumbered. Because this is a war for your attention, and it's not a fair one. So let's talk about what's really going on behind the scenes. These apps, websites, and platforms, they're not just neutral tools. They're designed with a very specific goal, to keep you hooked. The people building these platforms, they know what they're doing. They've studied psychology. They've hired some of the smartest designers in the world. And the mission is simple: get you to spend as much time as possible on their app. That's it. That's the whole business model. The longer you stay, the more money they make. Sean Parker, the first president of Facebook, admitted this. He literally said the goal behind Facebook was to consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And the way they do that is by giving you little dopamine hits, tiny bursts of pleasure, like when someone likes your photo, leaves a comment, or shares something you posted. Every little ping or buzz is designed to pull you back in. And the same logic applies to all the other platforms. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. They don't care what you're watching or doing, only that you don't leave. That's why I call the internet a hostile design environment. It's not built to help you think clearly or focus deeply. It's built to steal your attention. Quietly, constantly, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Compare that to something like a book. A book doesn't try to lure you in. It doesn't send you notifications. It just sits there. If you want to get something out of it, you have to give it your attention. That's the difference. Books ask for your focus. Phones take it from you. And look, I'm not standing here pretending to be above this. I make videos. If you're still watching this one, I benefit. If I can hold your attention a little longer, the algorithm rewards me. More views, more recommendations, more money. That's the game. And everyone plays it. But it's worth asking, what does that game do to us? Long term, what happens when your attention is constantly being pulled in 20 directions at once? What happens when everything is designed to distract you? Well, we're already seeing it. It's harder to focus, harder to read, harder to sit with your thoughts. And most people don't even realize it's happening. Now here's something that should really make you think. Steve Jobs, the guy who gave us the iPhone, didn't let his own kids use one. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't let his kids use Facebook. The people who built these platforms don't trust them with their own families. That should tell you something. So ask yourself, if they're protecting their kids from these tools, why aren't we protecting ourselves? All right, so by now, you might be wondering, what do I actually do about all this? How do I get my focus back? The truth is, there are things you can do, but they're not magic tricks. They're simple, practical steps that honestly just take commitment. It's not easy, but it is possible. Let's start with the obvious one. Turn off your phone. Not forever, not even all day. Just take long breaks from it. A few hours, an afternoon. If you can go a full day without checking it, you're already ahead of most people. It sounds small, but it's huge. The moment your phone isn't constantly buzzing, you'll start to notice just how jumpy your brain's gotten. You'll feel the itch to check it. That's the habit you're trying to unlearn. And look, even if your phone's on silent, just knowing it's there can be a distraction. That little thought, maybe there's a new message, maybe something fun is waiting. That thought alone steals your attention. So try leaving it in another room. Go for a walk without it. Sit at a coffee shop with a book and nothing else. These little moments help retrain your brain to be bored again. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually where focus starts. Next, start consuming media that demands your attention. It doesn't always have to be books, though yes, reading is amazing for focus. But it can also be movies. Actual, well-made, thoughtful movies. Not the kind of movies designed for you to watch while scrolling through your phone, half paying attention. You know the ones I mean, the Netflix background noise kind of movies. Try watching something you have to pay attention to. Go to a theater. Pick a film that asks you to sit still and follow a real story. And don't touch your phone the whole time. That's training. And finally, maybe the most important one, get comfortable not being stimulated all the time. Go on a walk in the morning without your headphones. No music, no podcast, just you and your thoughts. Try holding a single idea in your head as you walk. Think through a problem. Reflect on something. Just be with yourself for a while. It might feel weird at first, like something's missing, but that's kind of the point. We've gotten used to always having something going on. But when you strip that away, you give your mind space to breathe, to wander, to focus again. These moments, these quiet, undistracted stretches of time, they're not wasted. They're recovery. They're how your brain gets stronger. Because the truth is, focus isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. So yeah, this might feel like swimming upstream in a world that's trying to drown you in distractions, but it's worth it. If you can reclaim even a little bit of your attention, you'll start to see the difference in how you think, how you work, how you feel. You'll start to realize just how much noise you've been living in and how powerful it is when you finally step out of it.